the neighborhoods in every city of Boston.
Okay, how do we do that? Because we do, so I'm just going to be transparent. I know some
Sure.
people don't like it when I'm transparent, but we have, I'm sick and tired of seeing 4 white boys from Newton driving around Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, stopping people. And I do feel some type of way when I see all 4 of them jump out of vehicle and there's like a car, a Honda Accord with 4 Black or Hispanics. I feel some type of way. Like I am that person that I'm stopping. Like, y'all all right? They're like, keep going. Now I'm checking on my boys real quick.
Yeah, that's cool.
I do feel like there should at least be one of us somewhere in that Ford Taurus.
And again, we hold all of our officers to a professional standard, and we are definitely able to police our own. But with that being said, there is, let's say for the recruit drive, currently there's a Massachusetts statute that gives preference to veterans of foreign war. God bless our veterans. I have nothing to say against the veterans, but our experience is it's mostly Caucasian males that are veterans of foreign war that apply for BPD.
They can be from out of the state.
As long as they establish residency.
A year prior, right?
No, 30 days.
What?
Right. So, as well, it's veterans of foreign war that are minority aren't applying in few numbers. So we like to get that out.
So if we have any vets or anybody who knows a vet who's interested in becoming a Boston police officer,
right, they
can have preference.
They sure can.
Over just a regular civilian.
Yes.
So why has it, and this Blue Eyes, Mike McCarthy, I'm talking to you, we had a conversation not only with the commissioner, but also with the governor about this statute that is in law on the state level. And whether or not these two are going to have a conversation on how we can alter the law or amend the law so that way we can have more officers of color in our communities. Do we know whether or not that conversation has taken place?
I do not know that at this time. As well, I'd like to notify you about a program that's coming out.
Oh, yay.
Our Boston Police Cadet program.
Really? Okay, tell me about this.
Right. So we'll have 40 Boston police cadets from our neighborhoods throughout the city of Boston. So we had recently a Boston Police Cadet exam take place.
Okay.
And on completion of that, we now have candidates for the Boston Police Cadet program that will be selected throughout the neighborhoods of Boston.
Really?
So hopefully they'll go into the academy soon.
And
that would allow us to increase our diversity as well.
So tell me how this works. So this is a new program, but you guys have already filled all the slots. Can more people in the community apply?
Well, we already have the police exam, and hopefully we'll have another one soon.
Okay.
I keep saying police exam, cadet exam. You know why? Because I was a Boston Police Cadet in days of yore in 1983.
Didn't they stop that? Like the cadet
they did
program?
under the Menino administration. But the Commissioner Evans, myself, Superintendent Holmes, several of the command staff, several officers were formerly Boston Police Cadets. And back in the day, in the 80s, that allowed folks like myself, Superintendent Holmes, kids from across every community
to have an opportunity.
And we feel that's a way for us to have an opportunity again.
Well, shout out to Evans for bringing it back. Shout out to you. Shout out to Holmes.
And Mayor Walsh.
Instrumental.
And several city councilors as well. They wanted that program back. It's a great way to introduce a candidate to the police culture and learn ahead of time to break all of these stereotypes about machismo and policing, and to learn that community policing is the way.
So I don't know if you have this number. Do we know the statistics of the department as far as race relations or sex is concerned? Do we know the statistics of how many females to male ratio?
Well, it's constantly changing, but overall it's about 64% Caucasian, the 24% African American, and then Hispanic, then Asian, and then some category called other.
People that don't self-identify.
I'm a human, but hey.
I'm with you. I'm with you. What about females? How many females do we have on the force?
Well, I have to give those numbers because I don't want to misquote.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I would love to know because I think Wayne made Miss Officer like a popular thing. Now everybody wants a police officer.
I know that song. Give me that quizzical look like, does he know?
Does he know?
Did he forget?
But you know what? One of the biggest things that I would like to discuss with you is your community engagement. I think if anybody knows you, that's what they know you for, working with these children, having those one-on-one conversations. And like you're here today by yourself. I always see you in the field. You don't have your bodyguards with you. If somebody has a question, and I've seen you in action when people aren't happy and they're unfriendly and rah, 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 and you, and you're like, hold up, but wait, what actually happened? Let's talk about this.
Right.
Like you're always willing to fix whatever somebody's problem is when it comes to the Boston police. And why do you feel like that is so important for you to fix this idea that we're in it? And you don't even
Excellent
try to
question.
do it for everybody. Like it's one individual, one at a time. And I see like you invest that time in people and
Right.
you don't really see that.
Well, for me, it's from a historical perspective that I have this demeanor. There was a time, and culturally in the city, especially neighborhoods of color, they didn't have a great relationship with any authoritative figures at all. And that being said, people didn't think they could use their voice, or if they did, it's unheard. But now we're at a point where if you talk to the Boston Police Department, especially me, myself, the commissioner, the officers, I know I will stop and listen. And I think the folks in the communities now know that if I can use my voice now, I can talk, I'll be heard. Imagine if you felt that way for years, that nobody was listening and that you didn't have a voice. So sometimes I get a big rush of folks that are finally willing to use their voice because they have someone from the neighborhood, like stories, like experiences, that is now in a position to listen to them. So I never get upset because it's a victory that people are using their voices now, and they are representing the neighborhoods no matter where they hail from, and that if they have something to say, they say it. And you don't have to worry about fire hoses, dogs, or any negative experiences. If you have your voice and you want to use it and voice your opinion about how you want to be policed, then I accept that fully, as well as
Hold on, did you just say if I want to give
let's say you
suggestion on how I want to be policed? Do
absolutely,
I listen?
absolutely.
Okay,
We get that all the time.
0062. How do you want to be policed? Boston police are in the building. How do you want to be policed? Boston 617-282-0062. Uh-oh, they already started.
I know.
617-282-0062. Waking up with Tayla Andre, Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 7. Police Chief Gross, top in charge. You have any questions, please give us a call. Again, 617-282-0062. Good Rising, caller, you live.
Good morning, Taylor. How you doing?
Good Rising, I'm well. How are you?
I'm well. I got a question for the Scott, if that's okay.
Of course, come on. That's why we're taking calls, baby.
Excellent. So I'm actually an African American male. I've taken the civil service exam 3 times. I've scored over 90% on one of them, another 90% on the second, and unfortunately on the third I didn't do so well. But I never got a call. And I'm reaching the age point where you cannot get back on the force or even get on the force. And I'm trying to figure out if there's any way I could possibly find it. And a different avenue to get on. Because I'm trying to get on. I'm trying to be a community police officer. But I'm not seeming to get any feedback, especially when I call in to the department or if I call downtown. I'm not getting any feedback. And I'm trying to figure out a way if I can get on this before I can't.
Okay. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, the veterans of foreign war have preference. And in the past couple of exams, not including the most recent, the score that you would need probably be 98 to 99. But again, if I have 100 slots for the BPD Academy, and there's 100 veterans of foreign war, and God bless them, nothing against them, then those slots are filled by veterans of foreign war, and that pushes everybody else down, like on a waiting list. So those that's the experience we're having now.
So quick question, caller. Let me ask on your behalf. So a 98, how many people actually get a 98 to pass? And to piggyback off that question, there's certain points, like if you are a veteran, you get more points added
That's
to your
correct.
score. If you're a Boston resident, was born in Boston, went to a Boston public school, do you get preference as well? Because if you're a vet from California, you have basically more preference than somebody who's lived in Boston their entire life, who actually has like a love and a desire to police his or her community.
Right, as long as you establish residency, you have that preference as a veteran of foreign war.
Okay.
And that pushes everyone else back on the list. So again, if there's 100 slots, 100 veterans of foreign war, that's what we have. And so everybody, whether you're white, black, Latino, you get pushed down on the list.
It pushes everybody back.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yes.
He said including everybody like himself.
Is there any
Yes.
other?
Yes, sir.
Is there any other way for him to get in or get on, or outside of that, is that it? Like outside of those 100 vets, that's it?
That's pretty much it. Sometimes we lobby civil service to make a preference for languages, like Vietnamese, Latino, Haitian Creole. But again, that's up to civil service.
Is that why?
To look the way the community does, if you don't have anything to help the community, look the way the community does.
And that's a great question, but the onus isn't solely on the Boston Police Department. That's a state law, and we cannot break that law. And again, we welcome all veterans of foreign war, but it's been our experience that not many minority veterans of foreign war apply. And we like to get the message out that BPD is welcome to all. From speaking to some veterans that are of color, a lot speak on the subject of what's going on across the nation, and that they don't feel as though policing is a welcoming profession for them.
Does that answer your question?
It is frustrating. I have friends that are going through the same experience.
May let me ask you a question. Has the Boston Police Department, the commissioner, yourself, lobbied the state to see if we can change these laws? Have you put anything out there to help with that?
Well, that's going to come down to the voters. We talk about it all the time. We want a fair percentage, but that's
Hold on.
We have to find a disconnect.
So there is no different avenue right now. So the avenue that needs to be taken, and the avenue that I've already started, was we had a conversation with the governor. We had a conversation with the police commissioner, and that's what we're waiting on, for those two to connect so that the law can be altered. So, because I do understand that it starts with the people, but if the people, don't know that there's a law on the books that prohibits them from even being considered, that, first we have to get the knowledge out. We've already connected. I've asked the governor, I've asked the commissioner, are they going to talk to each other about this? Oh, yes, of course we are. So we're just waiting on that feedback of that actual conversation taking place and what that looks like. Because it's not just here in Boston, but it's Holyoke, it's New Bedford, it's Brockton, it's, I go back to Ken Williams. Ken Williams worked at Brockton. He knows it firsthand and sued and won. So, I need you to understand that it's not just here in Boston, but it's work. I can imagine it needs to be worked on across the states.
right. And folks need to lobby their elected officials to help make that change. Use your voice.
You heard that, baby? You know your city councilor. Give them a call, 617-282-0062. How do you want to be policed? Boston, we have the Boston Police in the building. And the Superintendent Chief Gross said, how do you want to be policed? Like, we take suggestions, but we got a suggestion box, 617-282-0062.
I hope we are able to talk about our future, the youth in the community as well.
Absolutely. Good Rising Caller, you're live.
Good morning, Tayla. Good morning, our local community BPD representatives.
Good morning.
This is kind of in response to the last caller. I've also, as well, I've taken the Boston Police exam about 3 times, and I did score 100
right?
Wow.
198, 100, something like that. And I did actually get the postcard in the mail. And when I went for an appointment, they, like I said, well, not like I said, but I've been, arrested a few times. I've had no convictions. I went to court, either got not guilty or it's thrown out. And, they have said, well, you're not suitable to be a cop, a Boston cop. And, I couldn't understand why. I went a few times. They said, maybe try again, tried again, got called again, and said the same thing. I'm just wondering, the minorities that are applying, is there some type of, leeway you guys give if, that's the only thing I can think of is, I've been arrested before. Nothing serious, but, I've been arrested before and it got thrown out. And I still didn't get the opportunity. So is there anything, any case like that where you guys would give leeway? Or how do you guys determine who's eligible, who's not?
Well, it's a serious vetting process because, of course, everyone expects our officers to be free of graft and corruption and of the best character. That being said, we understand people make mistakes. And there are officers who have made mistakes in their youth. But it comes down to the vetting process and the processing of each candidate. So if there's something on your query that would lead us to believe that you wouldn't be a suitable candidate, then that's the avenue we would take, like no felonies.
But he said that he was arrested, nothing serious, everything was thrown out, so that he wouldn't have a query, would he?
Well, it would still show, but again, somewhere in that vetting process, he was deemed not to be a suitable candidate. I'd have to check on his record personally, and I could give him a better answer.
How can he reach you? So since we can't give out your personal number on air, how can he reach you? So maybe, because he said that he's called downtown.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to him. Never shy away from any conversation. My email's out there, william.gross, Gross, @PD, Paul Delta, @boston.gov. Please give me an email so we can discuss it.
Did you get that, darling? All right, good luck. Good luck. I'd love to see you in the field. I'd like to see you in one of them Ford Tauruses. Pulling up real quick. Thank you.
Children.
So let's talk about the children. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about this new program that's rolling out. Let's talk about the future of the children, the future of Boston.
Right. That's what I want people to talk about. The children are our future, the teens. Anywhere from kindergarten on up. We have to realize that they're going to be the ones taking our place. And that's why BPD, we're in every grade from kindergarten to Harvard. You have a school police program, all volunteer police officers, Boston police officers that work hand in hand with the community to help further the education and make sure that the environment where our children are educated is a comfortable one. That includes mediation between students, continued communication with the neighborhood and parents, and we utilize folks in the neighborhood to help us out. Like there's an Operation Homefront. We use clergy to go visit the homes of the kids that are at risk, acting wayward, or some type of problems going on, affecting their behavior. We go with the clergy of that student's denomination. And it's not an accusatory visit, but an educational one. No uniform, plain clothes only, no marked vehicle, and we go and have that conversation. Then it's like a domino effect. How many people know that in 4 of our busiest sections and most challenged ones in the city of Boston, Mattapan, Dorchester, Roxbury, South End, we have clinical social workers in each station. We have clinical social workers in the gang unit and the school police unit as well. That program is called Youth Connect. So if I visit a home and that family needs resources, that Operation Homefront will refer to Youth Connect.
Whose idea was this?
That's been from the last administration to this. And Operation Homefront's been going over 18 years when we had the serious crisis in the mid-90s due to the crack epidemic that was killing all of our neighborhoods. And we realized that each individual entity in Boston would have to come out of their silos and learn to work together. I mean, that's when the concept of community policing really took hold. when we had reverends, community stakeholders, private sector, judicial system, BPD, we started to work together. And from that time, the mid-90s till now, we've just been strengthening those relationships. But the children of our community are it. You don't have to be blood to take care of someone's child. Village concept. I grew up down the street, Esmond Street, single mother, right? Older daughter, younger daughter, myself. And one of my first father figures was Coach Harry Wilson of the Roxbury Raiders at the time. But also talking about veterans of foreign war, 1975, several veterans were coming home. And in my apartment building, there were 3 families of veterans of foreign war. All looked out for me. Haitian immigrant, cab driver, always remember him, always looked out for me, taught me French. And of course, nosy Miss Parker too on the 3rd floor, God rest her soul. But what I'm getting at is it takes a village to raise a child. That shouldn't be a jaded African proverb. That's still applicable today. Mm-hmm. Everyone needs to take interest. I'm tired, and I know from the hood. Check out this one. How many people have you seen watch a child go by at the age of 9 or 10? It's like, wow, one day the police are going to get that kid, or one day that kid's going to be in jail, or one day this and that.
Teachers all the time.
Right. Of course, we ask if you see something, say something, but how about if you see something, do something? And that's everyone. And I learned this as well from the dialogue that we have with the youth in the community. One great program is Teen Empowerment, North American Family Institute, and I cannot brag enough about the NAACP Pipeline to Leadership. Tremendous core of youth from our community that have some serious questions. And we need to applaud that, listen to them, because I'm going to tell you the hue and cry from our youth is that they're not listened to and that they don't have a voice and that they're overshadowed. That's why we have so many youth police dialogues where we answer any and all questions.
So what if the youth want to come to you? Because I know you guys are in the community. I know you guys set up shop.
Yes.
You make yourself available. But what if they want to come to you? And we have this culture of snitching. We have this culture of like, don't be seen with the police. But how, if any, can you break that culture of, feeling as if the police are not on your side?
Well, interestingly enough, I believe that's going away. We can always have more work to do. Mm-hmm. But when you look at our neighborhoods and you see a baby getting shot in the arms of their mother, a 7-year-old getting shot, right? Somebody's grandmother, or a teen going to school, the community's starting to get, and I believe some have always gotten, that we owe no allegiance to someone that would do that to our loved ones. We owe no allegiance at all. So this stop snitching, this and that, that's not cute. That's not sexy, as they say, because it'll do you no good, because that person will make you the next victim. And people in Boston are starting to get that. We have more cooperation than ever. And a lot of the youth in our community need to be educated by not only by law enforcement, but their parents, family, and friends.
So let me play devil's advocate real quick. How can I speak so highly of the police that are constantly pulling me over because I'm a black man just on my way to work?
Then we need to have the dialogue, and you would see how we police. And that dialogue doesn't have to be with the chief or commissioner. We want you to have a dialogue with the officers that are working in the street, from the district levels to the gang unit. Have that conversation. We've had so many great conversations to the point where the parties that are having those conversations find out they have more in common than not. And we have a better understanding of policing, and the police, as a result, have a better understanding of what it's like to grow up and believe that you're being profiled, harassed, and listen to the stories that would give a person the perception that police aren't fair. But you have to have those conversations where you can find common ground. Other than that, you have just perceptions on both sides that aren't healthy.
We're coming to the top of the hour. We have 2 callers that
I want to come back too.
You promise?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
this is good.
Okay. So high five. Don't leave me
Oh,
hanging.
I'm sorry. I didn't
So-
thought you were doing your technical stuff. I didn't want to interfere with anything.
So I'm gonna leave my questions on hold, and maybe we'll revisit them when you revisit us. And I just let the callers ask their questions. Good rising, caller, you live.
Hey, good rising, is it me?
It's you, baby. Good rising.
Hey, good rising. So
Okay.
I appreciate the officer for coming.
Superintendent Chief Gross. He is the head topping in charge.
Okay, Superintendent Gross, I'm a Boston Public School teacher. I teach high school.
God
I
bless you.
grew up in
She can't
Roxbury
hear
and
you right now.
Rochester in the 80s and the 70s and 80s. And this is kind of troubling because I've seen innocent young people, my brother being one of those innocent young people being accused of doing something that he didn't do. He was actually in New Hampshire at the time. He was accused of doing something. His record, he didn't, get thrown out. But, as the brother who called said, it was still a mark on his record. It took time and money to get him, defended and off and everything. And then there's no opportunities. You got this brother that says he scored 100. He can't get on. You got people from out of our community policing, really rude. I also married someone who got deported for having less than an ounce of weed of his own personal, marijuana, no prior records. This is something that was dear to me and the father of my child. And then I have these students that I teach every day who are just going home on the T, who are being harassed, beaten up. I have a video that I tried to make public where the Boston Public Police, or the Boston Police Department, were threatening to shoot a young man. They told him to get away from a particular area or else I'll shoot you. You know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, but it's fair. Oh, we're doing all these wonderful things. I see it on a daily basis from a personal perspective to, a professional perspective where my male students are being literally harassed, beaten, and threatened to be shot. But we're doing such a great job, And I agree with you, says, and I read between the lines, the community better get involved. If the reason why we can't get people from our community on the force is because, white boys who went to Iraq or whatever are getting all those jobs, then we need to, get united, because I read between the lines of what you were saying. We got to be the ones to make the change. But, we just have a lot of work to do, and it is hard. I've got a young teenage male, and he's a really great kid, but ask him if he's scared of the police. Ask him if he's scared of the police. Ask any young person, from the time they were 6, 7 years old, if they're not scared of the police. I'm scared. I grew up in Roxbury. I can tell you stories of where I was chased and, arrested and brought to South Boston and dropped off in the middle of South Boston when that wasn't a time for police for Black people to be. You know what I mean? So we all have these stories, and I understand they're making some difference, but we need a lot more work and a lot more honesty.
Thank you, Carla, for your honesty, your transparency. Superintendent Gross, you want to respond?
I sure do. And thank you for being a teacher. That's a hard profession. And as well, even as the first African-American chief, I never dismiss any negative interactions with the police department, whether it's from decades ago till now. But it's my job now to educate folks as to where we're at now. And you're right, there's still work that needs to be done, but we must do this work together. I'm not trying to sound corny or anything, but we need to have those dialogues, especially with the young people of the community. I'd be more than happy to speak to your students. I'll bring the school police officers or whomever, and we'll have those conversations. And that's how you move forward. And for God's sakes, can we teach our children their self-worth? Know your history and know your self-worth. Know that you can stand up to any injustice that you perceive and that you have a voice. And we at Boston Police Department are just asking you to use that voice. And if you've been slighted or mistreated, we have an internal affairs division that will investigate any and all allegations. And if you have video of that encounter, ma'am, please bring it forward to myself or the internal affairs division. But again, we must have the conversations with our youth. a lot of folks out there do not know their self-worth. I don't think history is taught in the proper way to be inclusive of everybody that's in the United States. So we need to start teaching the youth in our community that they are valuable. They come from kingdoms and systems of government that weren't introduced to them as a result of slavery. And that goes for all of the youth in our community. We should learn about each other's culture and know respect of each culture. But you seriously have to educate yourselves further than just one reference or source. Know your history and you'll know your self-worth.
But what about those that don't know our self-worth and treat us as such?
Right, and that's the job that we will do in conjunction with the community. As I alluded to earlier, you should expect that your officers are free of graft, corruption, and
bias, racism.
And bias and racism. And there has been work that's been done. Our academy is now led by a wonderful woman from the community, Superintendent Lisa Holmes, who is an awesome police cadet, grew up in the city. And as a department, we've made great strides. For instance, as a part of our academy curriculum, we concentrate on procedural justice, and that's pretty much in 3 components. Of course, what you learn from the books, but how about this? How many people knew that the NAACP, the Urban League, the Mothers for Justice, Alternative Lifestyles, and you from our community come in and speak to our recruit officers? And why is that necessary? We do have people that hail from other states and outside of the community. What better way to educate them as to who is in the community and who they will be serving than to bring the people into the academy to speak to them? As well, the third component is the recruit officers actually go out into the neighborhood and meet people from the community.
So I'd like to piggyback off that. We're completely out of time. Shout out to the callers that are on the line. Shout out to the callers that are calling in. Can we figure something out and have you back sooner so we can?
Yeah, there's lots more
for us to discuss.
And in closing, also bias-free policing. We're one of the first major police departments to have a standalone bias-free policing policy where we address each individual's bias and like, hey, you're a professional. What you have at home, do not bring that to work. And like the educator said, we have a lot more work to be done, but we're willing to meet people halfway. Let's go.
Absolutely. So really quickly, there's a question here that says, I love what the city of Boston is doing for the neighborhood and what they want in the community. I'm still curious of where are the police officers that I normally see every day or every other day walking in my neighborhood, and I know their names and their faces, where I wouldn't be afraid to let them know what's going on, what I see in my neighborhood. Now, I don't see their faces. I see these white officers that don't live in our neighborhoods that may not have the understanding of approaching a situation. This is just my feelings, and I would love to see more of the police on bikes in Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan.
And we do have a lot of officers that are deployed on bikes, and we have what's called a Code 19, where we have our officers during the day get out and do a walk and talk for 45 minutes. Of course, that's according to call volume. I mean, if there's an emergency call, that officer will respond to that. But again, community policing is our mantra. So we have officers get out of the car and go and talk to not only the people in the street, the business owners, and the seniors. I think we can learn a lot from our seniors and their stories. A lot of officers that aren't from certain neighborhoods. Doesn't have to be Roxbury, Mattapan, and Dorchester. I know I've learned a lot from speaking to seniors from Southie and West Roxbury and what their views were on civil rights and just human interest and morals. I think that's indicative of all seniors. They have a story to tell that can help our officers police the neighborhoods. So
how do we get in touch with you? How can we, if I want you to come to my school, if I want you to speak to my students, how do I reach out to you or the community of policing? And, you know, going.
Here's my card where you can give everyone my email. and we have officers available for dialogue. And a lot of folks always ask, well, is it just Black officers? It's like, well, no. Officers from every neighborhood are willing to have this dialogue. again, so we can learn from each other.
Oh gosh. So what I'm gonna do is we're
Yes.
gonna come off air because we're overtime, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna continue on YouTube. So we're recording on YouTube. We'll continue a few questions on YouTube that are coming in via social media. TAYLAANDRE. I apologize. We are 9 minutes over time. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming out. As far as the number is concerned, we'll just email them. william.gross.pd.pauldavid.boston.gov. If you have any questions, concerns, you want to get him in front of your classroom, william.gross@pd.boston.gov. Big City 101.3 FM, Waking Up with Tayla Andre, Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 7. I love you. I appreciate you, and I hope you have an awesome day.
What it is DJ Sus One, the feature presentation.
All right.
Are we off air?
Yes, but we are on YouTube.
Okay. You have a great show.
Thank you.
Nothing but praises.
A lot of people. To the right. Yo, mama, she keep looking at me.
I actually want to hear that.
You know what movie I love?
What
I
movie?
didn't get any. Straight Outta Compton.
Straight up. Of course it did it. There was a whole bunch of Negroes rapping.
My era. What a great. Was
It
that
was.
a great movie?
It
or what?
was. It was.
That broke some stereotypes too. Like,
Of
look,
course it did.
also showcased that a lot of people in the music industry of color were taking advantage of.
Freaking TLC was raped. You know, Bad Boy raped everybody. Diddy, I'm sorry. You know it's true.
Oh, this is cool. Somebody's a South Park fan.
So
Hey.
I'm gonna point this at you.
Okay.
So you can address some of these questions, and I'll put it on so you can see yourself. Are we live yet? Are we live? That we had was the Nation of Islam has an official going coast to coast training police departments on how to interact with our people. Can we do that in this city?
Let's talk about it. Why not? Let's have that conversation.
Let's have that dialogue.
In the Nation of Islam, right up the street in Grove Hall, we have a great relationship with them. And recently, I went to MCI Norfolk and spoke with individuals there, Black History presentation about working together with the police and the community, because even though you're incarcerated, your voice can still be heard from beyond those walls, and to make a positive difference. As well as when you come back into the community, you should have a start where people welcome you, and that there's programs and services available to get you acclimated to the community that you hadn't been a part of for a while. But again, it's about having those conversations, though. Not many people believe that law enforcement would go to MCI Norfolk to have a discussion with those who are incarcerated, and several which may return to the community. But you're still starting that relationship so that when somebody comes back out, reentry, which we have a great reentry program.
Yes.
With Sheriff Tompkins.
I love him.
CLI, and other states officials, to get people reacclimated to the neighborhood once they come out, and to educate them that's to what's available to them, to give them a new start.
So let's go back to the number one question that everybody has.
Yes.
So a lot of people feel like it's counterproductive to say we're looking for people of color to represent our neighborhoods of color.
Right.
But we have this system in place that's been in place that won't allow people of color who are not veterans to police these communities. So people are feeling that these are Facebook comments that is counterproductive, and what is actually being done on a city level. Like, this is a problem. It's been a problem. This is not new. What is actually being done instead of just talking about it? What's being done about this problem?
Right, and you have to use your voice, lobby your elected officials to
But why
make
should I
changes.
have to lobby my elected officials when the governor and the police superintendent and the chief and everybody knows, the commissioner, everybody knows that there's a problem.
And you've heard our story. We've done everything that we can do. Now it's up to the next level. Those
And that's
that
the
make the
governor.
laws, right?
Okay.
And no one wants to disrespect the Veterans of Foreign War
Of
in
course
any way.
not.
Of course not. Let's make that loud and clear. But folks are calling for a system with a better percentage. A percentage of veterans of foreign war, a percentage of folks that are from Boston, and then a percentage of folks from the outside. But again, that's the onus isn't solely on the police department. We
Why do
definitely
we give so much preference to people that don't even live in the state, let alone in the city? But are there any points given to Boston residents or to people who attended a Boston high school? Do they have any preference?
No, the preference is for veterans of foreign war.
No matter where you live, as
No matter
long
where
as
you
you
live.
establish residency in
Right.
30 days.
Yes.
Nobody sees like the common sense issue problem. Dun, da, da, da.
I did not make the law. But
But we are trying to change it,
we are trying to change.
and we need the people's help to do so.
We do.
Call your elected officials. If you don't like it, stop bitching and complaining.
Ooh,
Don't call
not saying
me.
that.
We're not on FM. We're on Tayla. So stop bitching, stop complaining. If you really want something done, you actually have to do something. And call your elected officials and tell them, like, I want to be a police officer, but I can't because of the laws that are in place.
May I give a thank you out there?
Oh yeah, please.
I'd like to thank people from the neighborhoods that are stepping up to make a difference in everyone's lives. I love when I see folks out actually helping others, because that breaks a stereotype that, oh, black men don't care, black women don't care, that people of color can only discuss sex, movies, fashion, food. No. I like to thank everybody that I see out there changing lives, giving lectures on the street, taking a risk and a chance on individuals that others have like, there's no hope. Because that was done for me and several other folks that didn't have opportunities. Someone always steps up to help. And believe it or not, there's a lot of people that help out in Boston. We want everyone to, but I like to thank those individuals that do. I was just at a church on Washington Street. That's up from Codman Square.
Well, I'll give the church a shout out.
There were young people in the church, and there were young black men, Latinos, in the church that were actually talking about having discussions, talking about morals, and this and that. And here's what I said to them. I'm like, thank you for breaking the stereotype. People need to see this. The cameras need to be here to see that the men in the community have stepped up. And what was really great was that everybody acknowledged the women too in the community, in that church. That usually a lot of them bear the brunt of being mother and father. But that community knew what they had to do, and they're doing that as well. The State House the other day, we were lobbying for more funding for the Shannon Grant. So you had youth from Worcester.
For those who don't know, what is the Shannon Grant?
Well, the Shannon Grant is a grant. Oh, sorry. that comes from the State House, a former elected official, that we use those funds to help fund programs, whether it's to keep a program open past hours or programs to educate and provide services for the youth. It all goes to the youth and the community. But due to budgetary constraints, every year it seems to be getting cut.
Absolutely.
So you bring the people from the community who are affected the most, the youth in our community, to help lobby to get more funding and show the importance of that. When we were there, I didn't see any TV cameras because the youth of the community often say, you know what, no one listens to us, we have a voice too. And man, there were eloquent and touching testimonials there from the youth in the community. Some had gone down the wrong path, rediscovered themselves, but are now there to teach their peers.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the audience were youth of color. Why don't we showcase that when they are doing something positive?
I know that's
We always see negative, negative, negative. We need more positive. That's positive reinforcement into the
Mentally,
mind
yeah.
as well. But first thing I said when I got up, give yourselves a hand, because you're breaking stereotypes and you have a voice that needs to be heard, and you're doing that. But we need to applaud the youth when they need to be applauded, and they're doing the right thing. Sometimes the good kids, quote unquote,
Are the
it's like,
ones that
do I have to do
ignored.
something bad
Yeah.
to get services? It's like, no. But we need to, again, let our children in the community know their self-worth,
Mhm.
that they're appreciated, that they have a voice. And if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. Let's correct that. We've all grown up. We've all made mistakes. So let's not just cast one out because they've made a mistake.
So do you have a program, let's say, for instance, somebody who was incarcerated, somebody who went down that wrong path, and someone who changed their life for the better and is now making strides in the community? Is there a program for that individual to talk to these children that actually know what it's like to live in these communities, to go through that struggle, to go through that heartache, to make those wrong choices, to speak to those children, to say, listen, you know, because it's completely different when a squeaky clean police officer tries to come and talk to you, or, you know, lily white police officer tries to come and talk to you, or, you know, holier than thou, God feareth us tries to come and talk to you, versus the
Street
nigga
creds.
down the street.
Street
that,
creds all day. You need to
so-
talk to the people that have had, yes, we have guest speakers. We have people
not
that
guest
come.
speakers. Do you have a program
program.
strictly for?
No, we do not have a program strictly for that, but we encourage a dialogue, right? So we will go to folks and say, hey, can you talk to this group of I hate to say kids.
Children.
Yeah, children. Well, talk to them. Let them know your experience. As I alluded to earlier, MCI Norfolk, they just sent me a program and I have to continue leaning over. Based on that, how can they use their voice to talk to individuals, the youth in the community? And you're right. I can have a conversation, but automatically I'll be stereotyped a lot of times. Like, man, you already got yours, or you came from the suburbs. You're a brother that can't relate. Instead of like, hey, I'm from the neighborhood. There were times when I had negative experiences, and trust me, if I didn't have my uniform on, would I feel comfortable going into all of those places that we're hearing about on the news from other states? No, I wouldn't. So, but with that being said, you still need to listen to folks that have been incarcerated, that have had a change in life, that have corrected their past. Their voice rings true the most, I feel, to someone that's kind of taking the wrong path. They're not going to listen to me. They'll listen to a brother or a sister that are doing positive things.
What about
from the negative to the positive?
taking that concept and applying it to the gang unit? And when I see the gang unit, I want to go back to how you said, you know, sometimes we lobby the civil service to give us, you know, special preference on language. So I have noticed that those that are of color on the force are either Cabo Verde or Haitian or Spanish. There's no like Negro, blacks.
Well, no, there are.
Not in abundance. That's what we're lacking. We're lacking a lot of like neighborhood African Americans. I noticed that we do have there's a huge Cape Verdean.
There's a Cape Verdean Police Officers Association.
Yeah, it's huge.
Excellent association. But there's another thing when we talk about recruiting, right? And when I did talk to several veterans of foreign war and other people in the community, said they just don't feel welcome, that they would not be welcome as a police officer as a result of what's been going on to the negative in other states. They're like, man, I'm not getting into that. At no time would I want to be a police officer in our communities at this point, because there's too much negativity, and you would be stereotyped as an officer that's acting out in South Carolina, Ferguson, Staten Island. So I think they need to hear from the community as well, that a lot of folks from the community want police officers of all colors, and especially those that hail from the community.
So I'm not gonna lie.
But a lot of folks are saying, like, I'm not gonna be a police officer, not at this time.
No, I'm not
No
gonna
way.
lie. We have enough. I think we have enough veterans of war. And one of the things that we didn't discuss on air that I think is really important is veterans of war are now coming and interacting with civilians. Now, I understand they're vetted. I understand they have their mental checked and all that. But when you have been in war times, when you have been overseas, you've seen a child be killed. You've seen women be killed. You see children and women killed. And then you come over here and, you don't think that hostility, I feel it. And I'm not even the one being pulled over. I feel that hostility for that brother that's being pulled over, for those young Black men that are being pulled over. And I'm not gonna lie, I do. I have a problem with it. When I drive past the situation and there's two in the back looking in the window, there's one on the passenger, there's one in the driver, like that I cringe.
Many sides to those stops, though. A lot of times people from the community call us to tell us about wrongdoings. I mean, I've experienced that myself. I was a young officer out there when I was just completely lambasted by someone that came up on the scene. Why are you arresting that Black kid? Why are you harassing? I'm like, well, frankly, it was a 911 call from an African-American. The victim's African-American, and that suspect is too, and I am too. So how am I harassing? I'm doing my job. I would say that everything is not as it always seems. So, but I do factor in everything. Of course, not naive. I know where I came from. I never forget where I came from. That's why I fight hard, as well as the commissioner and the mayor, to improve our services and to let folks know that work is being done. Oh, I'm sorry.
So, what would you say? Yes, to the viewers, thank you, love you, appreciate you, and they can reach you at
william.cross@pd.boston.gov.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for using your voice.
Thank you.